How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Steinsgate, Linear Bounded Phenogram. Last time we are on the Nae episode, and we have been seeing her setting up and effectively joining the resistance in exchange for the chance to send a 1D mail. So I'm really curious to see what that's going to be today, and we're going to see how she can help Daru, hopefully, and wondering whether or not she's going to be able to, do this without getting into too much danger with SERN. And also, is she going to tell, right now I'm kind of curious if she's actually going to tell Ferris what's going on or not. I wonder if that's the dilemma she's going to be wrestling with today. Real quick though, before we jump in case you haven't heard quite yet, I have started a couple new things for the channel. I got some new projects coming in the works. I've got some of the groundwork laid out already. I'm really excited to see how it goes. But for now, we're just going to be saying that I have launched a Patreon. What's the Patreon for? Well, it's the beginning and the stepping stone and the establishment of the idea that someday I would love to make this a full-time, like something I actually do full-time. So I can put 40 hours into every week, meaning I can increase a lot of the videos I make. That I can also do some of the more ambitious ideas I've had that just I don't have the means to do at the moment. But most importantly, to just help you understand that the pipe dream is a pipe dream, but it's something I'm hoping and striving for. I don't expect, nor do I need any support on Patreon in order to continue doing what I do. But if I want to be able to change this into something that is for far more than what it is now, the support you can share with me is exactly what that's set up to do. And I've set it up. There's not going to really be locked content, but I will let you see a lot of behind the scenes stuff if you set up work with Patreon. That means helping me choose what series I do next in what order. Maybe having a special chat room where I can talk to you more one-on-one, especially as you initially start with a Patreon. I want to make sure to have a one-on-one message with you, either a video or a personal chat. And then the most important is just kind of giving you a chance to just openly ask me questions and have direct answers in a little kind of Patreon podcast, which is effectively just going to be me chatting while I'm doing editing or playing a game on my own. Just kind of a stream of consciousness, very loose, but an opportunity for you to really understand what's going on and how these things work, and maybe a bit about my setup and all of that. I should be putting the first one up in the next couple weeks. And then whenever you join, if you join now, if you join 10 years from now, you'll have access to the entire backlist of it all. So just wanted to put it out there. If you want to see the channel grow and you want to support me and what I do, I would love to have you join us on Patreon. You get some other bits and pieces and possibly future perks as they come around. But for now, it's just a opportunity to really show support for what I do. And again, I don't need it. I can run the channel as it is right now without any input at all, and I'm very happy to do that. But someday I hope to do more, and that is a way that you can help with making that a dream a reality if you so choose. Anyway, enough about that. If you want to know more, links in the description. Always check out the Discord too if you want more information about anything, including just chances to chat with me or hear my thoughts on various things. But for now, we're going to jump right back into Steinsgate and figure out what's going on with Nae. So, tests start tomorrow. I remember most of the stuff they taught us in class, but I still need to do a bit of review to get a good score. After dinner, I tried ignoring my sleepiness to study for a few hours. One thing I do kind of like, it makes sense, I guess, based on what I understand of Japanese culture. This isn't really a Japanese culture per se, more of an aspect of what I believe, the value of education in Japan, or at least the value of it being socially acceptable to study and to be growing up, being knowledgeable, doing well on tests, and striving for the high score, that made you a nerd. It kind of was a subcategory, and it was not definitely far from what would be the cool or the enviable. Maybe enviable a little bit, but most often it's kind of oh cool, it's whatever, you get good grades. It didn't really have much impact socially beyond maybe impressing other smart people, I guess. Never got to be that high echelon rank, so I don't know. But in Japan, it seems that there's that strong emphasis on education, being able to be performing well. And it feels like the social standards for students are much higher, where even what you would consider maybe more an average student would still be expected to do well. And also it seems like it's all more competitive. I don't know again if this is really true or if it's something that's just enhanced in the media I see, but I can't imagine it not being somewhat competitive if they post scores publicly, like they seem to in the various forms of media I've digested, of like, oh, here's the ranking of all the students in your grade from like best scores to worst scores, and it's kind of public, where it's like, maybe they'll hide it behind like a number, but it's not like it's that hard to find out who did what or who's got highest or lowest score. So it's kind of interesting, that part of it. And so this idea of like, it's very like a common thing or a necessary thing for everybody to study, for the reasonable people, even like if they're not the brilliant geniuses, but that they need to study. And a lot of media that I grew up watching, like the smart people were just smart and everyone else was just kind of meh, you know? They would commonly make jokes on shows I grew up watching about like the main characters like getting D's, C's, F's, and that's what, it's fine, it doesn't really matter. And like, but that seems to be the opposite in like the anime industry, for instance. It almost seems like people who like they tend to easily mock people who don't try very hard. So I don't know. It's one of those interesting case studies I'd love to know more about. I really wish I'd had an opportunity to do exchange programs, and even if it was in Japan, like anywhere, I always wanted to travel, but it just was not something I could do back then. It was just a dream that never was fulfilled. So I'm hoping I can experience more cultures in my own way and maybe provide those opportunities for my family in the future. Anyway, by the time I looked at the clock, it's already after midnight. Fetch, girl, go to sleep. Lack of sleep is way worse for tests than lack of studying. Well, I wouldn't say lack of studying, lack of cramming. Cramming right before a test is very, I could hardly concentrate. My grades might end up lower than they were on the spring exams. That would be weird. If only Daru showed up 1 week later. Aww. I muffled my yawn. I should drink some hot tea. When I go out to the living room, Rumio is sitting there.
Nae, まだ起きてたの? 明日は月曜日なの、わかってるかにゃ?
Yeah.
明日からテスト。勉強？集中できなくて。じゃあ、私がとっておきのアッサムティーを入れてあげるにゃ。ミルクをたっぷり入れて、にゃ。
Oh yeah, Asama? Assam tea, just Assam, not Asama.
おいしそう。にゃ。座って待ってるにゃ。
Aw, Ferris is a gem. She's too precious for this world. Rumio happily walks off to the kitchen. After a while, she brings me hot milk tea.
どうぞ、お嬢様。いただきます。
A pleasant scent wafts from the cup. I don't know much about tea, but the milk tea Rumio makes is delicious.
ねえ、お姉ちゃん。何かにゃ。ダルおじさんっていたでしょ？わお、ダルにゃん。懐かしい名前にゃ。私がまだフェイリスを名乗ってライネットをやってた頃、一番のファンでいてくれた人にゃ。
Interesting. So she doesn't refer to herself as Ferris anymore in this universe? That's really interesting.
それに
And he was weird.
ラボメン。
Yeah. The moment I say those words, Rumio's smile takes a note of sadness.
そう、ラボメンにゃ。まさかなえ、ダルニャンとどこかで会ったのかにゃ。そういうわけじゃ。
Liar. Did she see my eyes? I lied again. Even though there's no need to hide it. Do I not trust Rumio? That can't be true. I've talked to her about so many things over the past 2 years. Without her help, I would probably be living here at the Akiha house with my heart still closed off. So why did I lie to her just now? Is it because I want to be the only one able to send emails? Or am I afraid that I can't be involved anymore if I involve someone else?
ダルニャン、懐かしいにゃ。今頃どこで何してるのかにゃ。また対戦したいにゃ。
Aww, Daru would love to know that.
ルミホお姉ちゃんはダルおじさんと 恋人だったの？いや、恋人ではないにゃ。違うの？仲は良かったにゃ。とってもいいお友達だったにゃ。
Aw, that would stab him right through the soul too, just in the bad way. So Daru lied to me. But why would he lie about something like that? That's pretty shocking. Also, it showed me just how sad it is to be lied to. I'm sorry, Rumio. I don't have the right to criticize Daru for what he did. Still gloomy, I drink another cup of milk tea, then go back to studying. Yeah? I pull the extension cord from the bathroom. The cord reels in, coiling onto the floor like a snake. They are sniffing power.
これこそまさに天からの恵みっつうか地獄に垂れ下がった雲の糸っつうか
Uh-huh.
雲は怖いです。
Daru plugs his cell phone charging cable into the end of the extension cord.
来たー
Thank goodness. It starts charging. And I begin to wonder if this is really okay. No, it's illegal. I came here right after my exams were over for the day, and Daru immediately handed me the extension cord. Apparently, this is the solution to the electricity issue. Several extension cords are connected together, passing through the bathroom window and plugged into the rear building. By sheer luck, the rear building's hallway had a power socket. I just went over and plugged it in. He says he's just borrowing a little. But I call that stealing electricity. Yeah, it's stealing electricity. When I bring that up,
それについては支援者にうまく処理してもらうをナイちゃん氏は心配しなくて OK 少なくとも犯罪じゃない形にするを
sure. But you know what? He's part of an illegal crime syndicate and terrorist group at this point. Like, not even just like effectively, it's like kind of literal at this point. I feel like stealing power is the least of his crimes. He says that beaming, even though he didn't tell me how they would deal with it. Anyway, this solves the electricity issue. Probably. As long as nobody notices and unplugs it or follows the cable. I slowly, carefully move the small saw up and down. But no matter what I do, it still makes some sound. What's important is making the sound as quiet as possible. I'm starting to learn the tricks. Progress is so slow that it's almost disheartening, but the hole is definitely getting bigger. I started working on Sunday. Yesterday and today, once I'd finished my tests in the morning, I came straight here. But because of that, I couldn't review for my Japanese and social studies tests today. Still, I think I managed to score above average on them. I've been devoting all my time to this. It seems like Daru's having a hard time on his end too. While the power issue has been solved, the agents outside would notice if we used it too openly. I keep hearing him complain under his breath about how he can't even do tests to see if the time machine will work properly. It sounds like I'm not the one holding things back, at least. The hole will break through the other side soon, after all. I don't know why it was written like that. Right now, I'm sawing away at the ceiling boards for the first floor. I'd probably break through them easily if I gave it a big stomp. But that would make a noise, so I can't. How frustrating. Faster. Hurry up. I'm getting impatient. I grit my teeth. I wipe the sweat dripping from my forehead. I continue moving the saw quietly, slowly. Fetch. This would be torture. Then... Sweet. I cut all the way through the first floor ceiling boards. I hold onto the cutout and keep it from falling. Then I hold it out to Daru, who is working off to the side.
できたよ。
おう、ナイちゃん氏、仕事早いね。
Yeah, maybe he recognized how capable I am, at least a little. I feel like smiling. Daru walks over and looks down the hole. Even with the hole all the way through, the lower floor is pitch black and we can't see anything. The outside shutters are closed and there's no other window, so it's only natural.
つか、この大きさの穴じゃ、僕通れなくね。
I thought the plan was for her to go. I don't know.
ダルおじさんが通るつもりだったの？そんなの。
It's impossible. The gap is barely big enough for me to pass through.
じゃ、ナイちゃん氏、行く？
行って何をすればいいの？
とりあえず42型がつくかどうか調べる。
Alright.
着いたら？
それでナイちゃん氏の仕事は終わり。
Dang.
着かなかったら？
世界がやばい。
Fetch, that's a bleak way to say it. There's a lot hinging on this old TV working. I mean, I understand why, but still. Sorry, I just realized I have I was playing with a bump on my arm. Turned out it was a vein. I just didn't know it was there. Forgive me, man. I am having an interesting day. Let's just say that. Not a bad one per se, but interesting. It sounds like he doesn't have any backup plan if it doesn't turn on. And honestly, I start to think that not turning on might be for the best. But I think it's just anxiety over being involved in something this big. Daru's like a person from another world. I don't know for sure if he'll even be here tomorrow. He might disappear completely, taking the time machine with him. I don't even have the courage to ask him why he lied the other day. No matter how much he lies, I have no choice but to trust him. And that makes me anxious. I would be anxious too. I'd rather be in a situation where no progress can be made without me around.
勝手だな、私。
勝手って何が？
別に何でも。
Anyway, I'm the one who has to descend into the lower floor. Right. Using a rope I bought, I slowly drop down into the store. I use a pen light to illuminate the area. I got some pen lights for emergency lights in our house. CRT and TVs are piled up almost touching the ceiling. I could use them as footholds, but I feel like they'd tumble over the moment I touch them, so I don't. Wise. Those things are not stable. Dad would always get mad at me when I tried touching the stacks of TVs.
いかない。危ないから絶対に触るんじゃないぞ。絶妙なバランスで積んであるんだからな。
Excuse me.
もし下手にいじったら、ブラウン管の山で生き埋めになっちまうぞ。
God. The store is even dustier than the floor above. I feel like coughing, but I desperately hold it back. I look around the store again. I remember all of this. It's like it's been frozen in time since 2 years ago. The store I'd always play at. Daddy's store. The chair he would always sit in is still right there. On the small table sits a newspaper from August of 2 years ago.
お父さん。
I feel like crying. Is it because the dust is stinging my eyes? Or because I remember Daddy's face?
はいガード。
I see Daru's face peering down from the hole above as he dangles the extension cord. I take it and walk towards the 42-inch TV at the back of the store. How weird. When I look at it now, it doesn't seem that big. But 2 years ago, I didn't think it could fit a TV this big into the entire world. Of course, it's still big compared to LCD TVs of the same screen size. I wonder if it's because I've grown, or because I'm used to seeing these massive TVs in the Akiha family's living room. Either way, it makes me kind of sad. Thinking of these things, I plug the 42-inch TV's power cord into the extension cord socket. After a gulp, I try pressing the main power switch at the bottom of the TV. Crap.
つかない。
リモコンある？
I know exactly where the 42-inch TV's remote control is kept. It's on a shelf near the chair where Dad would always sit. As always, that's where I found it. I swap in the batteries Daru tossed me and point at the TV and press the power button. But the remote doesn't make it turn on either. I tried a few more times, but it was no good. Is it because I wished for this? I hoped that it wouldn't turn on. I shouldn't have done that. This TV is something Dad put his heart into maintaining.
やっぱ故障か。2年も放置してたし、悪い予感はあったんだ。
どうするの？
Maybe if you just dedust it? I don't know enough about CRTs to know if dust accumulation can actually just make it not want to turn on. But I also worry that that could short it out somehow.
どうするも何もミッションは終了っしょ。
Fetch, what? Come on, it might be something.
終了？
だって42型がつかないんじゃ話にならんし。
In a panic, I shout loudly.
修理私がするから。
しー
I hurried to cover my mouth. Daru waves me over with his hand and lowers the rope down to the hole. I climb back up to the upper floor. Back in elementary school, I was pretty good at the climbing rope in the playground. Climbing up and down the rope is easy if you know how. I don't. I never was good at that. After waiting for me to get back up, Daru opens his mouth.
もう一度言うけど、ミッションはこれで終了だお。撤収作業に入るんで。
修理できるよ。
When I say this, Daru looks at me with doubt in his eyes.
無理っしょ。だってあのテレビの大きさじゃ、そこの穴もトイレの窓も通せないし、シャッター開けて外に持ち出したら、あの黒服連中に見つかってアウトだし。
Right.
外に持ち出す必要なんてないよ。
じゃあ、誰が直すん？
Me.
私が。
Obviously. I mean, how did you not think about that? Hey, Luca. I was cleaning around the shrine earlier and saw that one striped cat I know you like. Can't remember his name, though. That's Sagat. I hadn't seen him around in a while, so I was super worried. I'm glad he's okay. Aww. Good kitties. My kitty's not very good. He decided this morning he didn't like me. He bit me. He doesn't bite too often, but like he's on a diet and it makes him really grumpy. And I think he just decided he just got too stressed out and decided to take it out on me. Cause like I was laying in bed and like kind of like watching a show or something, kind of getting pumped up for the morning. I don't know, just doing something or other. And he just jumped up on the bed, crawled up to me, watched me for 2 seconds, and then bit me and then ran away. Like, God, I don't get that cat sometimes. Prince, I love him to pieces, but good grief.
いやいやいや。ブラウン管テレビの修理は素人にはおすすめできない。
She like grew up on this stuff, man.
一歩間違えれば感電して死ぬこともあるって聞いたわけだが。
Right, because it has the coils inside. Yeah, it can hold a massive, incredible static discharge because of the way the electron gun works. It's kind of incredible that a TV even works like that. It's very much like it's kind of like using a shotgun to hunt for fish in a barrel. It's like it doesn't even seem like it would work that effectively, but it would, and it also feels like overkill at the same time. But yeah, no, you also have to be really careful about power supplies and computers too, because they also can do that. Like they can hold a charge for a long time. And so even if you're taking apart like a computer that's been just sitting there doing nothing for like years and years, you can absolutely send yourself to the hospital with that. So you've got to be careful.
それはちゃんと放電できていれば大丈夫。42型は2年間電源を入れてなかったよ。
Right, right.
もしかして詳しいん？
Hello, she grew up in that place. I nod enthusiastically.
昔お父さんにちょっとだけ教わったから。
でもちょっとだけっしょ。
そうだけど。でも直せる可能性はちょっとでもあるわけだし。
Yeah, exactly.
諦めちゃうよりいいんじゃないかなって。私でもできる修理方法だけでも試させてほしいです。
危なくない？
Of course.
コンデンサとかヒューズとかその辺は私も詳しくわからないからいじらずに。
Right.
いじらずに。
電源回路のプリント基板をチェックしようと思う。
そこが壊れてるかもしれんってこと？
劣化してハンダ割れしてるんじゃないかと。
Oh, yeah, that actually would make a lot of sense. In an enclosed space like that where there's no one like touching it and the doors are never opening, all you need is a few really humid days and then humidity fluctuations going up and down over time, and the very, very delicate little solders and just bits and tubes and pieces all could easily have some misalignments and some detachments and corrosion. Yeah, those microchip boards also are just like they don't do well against the elements. I learned how to solder during handcrafts in elementary school. Elementary school? I've never even soldered before. I know what it is, but I've never done it. And Dad taught me a bit as well. Fetch, that's crazy cool. I'll learn to solder. Uncle Daru had me buy a battery-powered soldering iron during the first shopping trip, so I can use that.
だから、基板に追いハンダを全部やってみるの。
Resoldering means adding more solder to already soldered connections. I remember Dad told me before that degradation over time can result in cracks forming in the solder.
それでもう一度つくかどうか試すっていうので、ど
Okay.
うかな。
Fetch, I mean, it's worth a shot. Uncle Daru thinks for a while.
それ以外はやらない。
やらない。というか、やれない。
Right. I honestly tell him what I'm capable of.
だから、やらせてください。
I look him straight in the eye and ask. Daru lets out a little sigh.
今のセリフさ、もっと甘える感じで言ってみてくんない？
Shut your face.
うん。
I don't really understand what he means, but I don't know if that's something but I know it's something that's perverted. I glare at him and he stands up straight and forces a smile.
一つ一つやれることをこなしていけば、いつかフラグは立つとか言うし。
太郎おじさん。
Right.
これエロゲ攻略の鉄則なのだぜ。
はい。
まあ危険がないっつうなら試してみる価値はあると思われ。
頑張る。
I'll do whatever I can. Trouble is you'll need a light to do it. First I have to remove the outer cover. I use a screwdriver to remove the screws, but it's pretty tough to see them with only a pen light. The heat, stuffy air, and lack of sleep combine to dull my mind. I've been here for almost 6 hours today. Staying in for too long probably isn't good.
ねえ、太郎おじさん。前と同じ質問していい？
I call up to the floor above without being too loud.
どうして今だったの？
どういうこと？
Daru pokes his head through the hole. It reminds me of an upside-down whack-a-mole machine.
太郎おじさんが秋葉原に戻ってきたのはどうして今だったのかなって。
Right after the start, he told me he'd been abroad. But he also said he returned to Japan half a year ago. What was he doing in that time? Why did he decide to return here in July? Before, he told me he had business to take care of, but he wouldn't tell me what it had to be, why it had to be now.
太陽嵐の噂聞いたことある？
Solar storm?
太陽嵐？
簡単に言うと太陽から飛んでくる目に見えない磁気の嵐だお。
Right.
ここ最近さ結構騒がれてるんだよね。過去最大規模の磁気嵐が来るかもって。
That's odd because magnetic storms travel at near light speed, which takes 8 minutes to get from the sun to Earth. So near light speed would maybe be 15 to 30 minutes. We might predict there could be massive solar storms, but we'd never be able to say like, oh, here comes one, and then let it come for a few days. Like, that's not how it would work if I recall correctly. I mean, it's definitely a lot slower, so maybe it would take a day or two, but like by the time we saw it, registered, and knew exactly what it was, there wouldn't be much of a warning, really. Not that they're completely unprecedented, but there are solar storms that are like gargantuan for our sun. There are bigger ones, of course, out there, but our sun in 1918 released a massive magnetic storm that was so powerful that there were like incidences of blackouts throughout like the northern hemisphere, including like New York City, which at the time you got to remember, like City wasn't super big then, but it was causing problems. And there were like, I think there were reports of people who were able to like They had like electronics like light bulbs, or maybe not light bulbs, but like radios were turning themselves on independent of being plugged into a network because the storm was just charging the cables inside like the radio. If we have a big one like that, whatever side of the planet happens to be facing the sun at the time, pretty much all the satellites are going to be taken out of commission because they won't even have the atmosphere and the magnetic to protect them. They'll be up above the big backbone of the Earth's magnetic field, which, by the way, is the only real defense we have against these storms. These kind of storms would actually strip our atmosphere over time if we didn't have such a powerful magnetic core developed by a spinning iron, like molten core in our planet, which produces massive magnetic fluctuations and fields. It's kind of terrifying to think about. In fact, that's likely what happened to Mars. There's plenty of evidence that says that Mars had a lot of surface water, like flowing surface water, like rivers and lakes and oceans, may even have had life, but its core cooled, lost itself, and whatever magnetic field it once had was lost, and its atmosphere was blasted away over time by the sun. And that's further away than ours is. So just imagine what it would be like without those defenses, and then realize that a lot of the things we use for like GPS, communication, all of that, they're all just sitting up there beyond a lot of that protection. Yeah, when that storm next comes, it's going to be very expensive. Like we talk about like hurricanes costing billions of dollars, that disaster can cost billions of dollars easily, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. It's like, and it's going to happen. I mean, it'll happen eventually. So, buckle up for that.
もしそれが地球に到達したら電子機器とかバカになっちゃうわけで。
壊れちゃうっていうこと？
Yeah, like I said, you would have electronic devices turning on independently of being plugged in. Like, that's how strong these things can be.
そう。しかも世界規模でね。太陽嵐で世界がやばい的な。
Yeah.
本当に来るの？
さあ、専門家の間でも来るのか来ないのか意見が分かれてるし。でももしも来ちゃったら目も当てられないっしょ。きっとインフラ復旧するだけでもかなり時間かかりそう。
Yeah, if there's any event that could literally kill the internet, it would be this. The establishment put in place to support roads, schools, hospitals, and the economy, the general welfare of the public, and more. Recently, the word has seen some use when describing communications-related things, TV, radio, phone, internet, etc. Yeah, it would be absolutely a disaster.
そんなわけで太陽嵐の前と後じゃ D メール送信の成功確率が大きく変わっちゃうかもしれんしょ。もしものことを考えてこうして戻ってきたってわけ。
Maybe because then he could try and send himself a D-mail to warn himself to come and get it earlier. While we were talking, I finished removing all the screws. I basically had to hug this big cover to remove it. There was a lot of dust on it, so my clothes might be really dirty. It's too dark to check now, though. Oh, those things are kind of terrifying.
なんとかなりそう。
Now, here's the other thing. Before she does any soldering, she does need to de-dust it. Oh my gosh, like dusting, like over dust could be a big problem here. It's too dark to tell.
まだわかんない。他のパーツに邪魔されて基板がまだ見えないから。
じゃあ分解ですね。わかります。
He says it like it's easy. It's my first time taking apart a TV. I need to remember the order I disassemble it. If I don't, I'm not sure I'll be able to put it back together. Yeah, that's actually where things like sticky notes can be a big help. It's gonna be a challenge. But I have to do it. If not, I won't be able to send a D-mail. Oh boy, who's this? Aunt Chicana. Late today too? Is your study session going well? What are you doing about dinner? Eating at your friend's house? I'll make something if you're coming back to eat. Please let me know.
帰らなきゃ。
I can't make the Akiha family worry. I'll tell them I'll be late because I'm studying at a friend's house. Even telling them a little lie like that really hurts my heart. Aww. but I don't want to make them worry anymore. I'm on the rooftop gazing absentmindedly at the sky. To avoid the agent's detection, I'm as far from the edges as I can get and keeping my head down. I wanted a breath of fresh air after staying in that dusty room for so long. It was getting hard to breathe. In the end, my test results were mixed. My social studies test from day 2 was especially bad, just barely meeting the average score. Rumio even tried consoling me, but I didn't learn my lesson. I even skipped my team activities to be here today. Fetch, man. I couldn't help but make a sound. I focused on my fingertips holding the penlight in my mouth, the soldering iron in my right hand and the solder in my left. I pressed the two together on the spot of the circuit board I wanted to solder, creating a little silver ball as the faint smell of melting lead wafts into the air. Yesterday and today, from after school until evening, I've been doing this delicate work in the dark store. The 42-inch TV circuit board is really big too. There are a huge number of spots with solder on them. I've spent several hours on it since yesterday, but I've only resoldered about half. It's because I work so slow. Thinking like that makes me even more tense. I said I'd do it myself, and I think of it as my last chance of sending a D-mail, so I'm nervous and my fingers are shaking. I guess my rooftop break didn't help. I let out a big sigh. I wonder how Uncle Daru's work is coming along. If he's almost done, I might end up being cut from the team. Speaking of which, I've heard quite chatter that I can't quite make out coming from upstairs for a while now. But Daru's the only one on the second floor? Is he on the phone? Oh, fetch! That sounds like a bad thing! Who's he talking to? The soldering iron's batteries are about to run out, so I'll check while I replace them. Okay, I got scared because I saw the old blood on the floor. And I was like, crap! And then I was like, oh wait, that was there. While I'm climbing the second floor, I see Daru reclining in the sofa not doing his work. He's munching on snacks while talking on the phone.
そうそう、このままじゃやってられんつうかさ。だが断る。方法はそっちで考えてよ。僕はそれについては割とどうでもいいんで。
Talking to Okabe, I'm guessing.
融通聞かなすぎ笑った。もういいからさ、今日中にやろう。マジで？じゃあついでにコミック LO も頼める？
Kamima. His friends are going to Kamima for him. Are you serious?
うはっ、OK!
Mako-chan. You okay? You didn't come to practice today. What happened? Yamanaka-senpai was super mad. Are you feeling under the weather? Want me to come visit? Fetch. This is not falling apart. He seems to be enjoying himself. It doesn't look like he's had an ounce of tension.
Nae-chan shi.
He suddenly calls out to me, which makes me jump.
僕さ、ちょっと出かけてくるんで。
What?
出かけるの？出かけられるの？
Can you? It's been about a week since Daru holed up in here. He hasn't left once since then. It's really difficult for Daru to get his fat body through that tiny bathroom window. It's so difficult for me too, since I have to help. Also,
ダルおじさん、狙われてるんだよ。出歩いたりしたらすぐ見つかっちゃうかも。
you know she's right, man.
捕まったらどうするの？
おー、Nae-chanし。もしかして心配してくれてるん？
I'm worried that you're gonna take away my hope of sending an email, yes?
だったらちょっと上目遣いでさ、行かないでお兄ちゃんって引き止めプリーズ。そしたら僕一生ここに引きこもるんで。ニート最高すぐる。働いたら負けかなと思ってる。
またそうやって。
He always starts joking when he wants to dodge around an issue.
おじさんは一人じゃここから出ていくこともできないと思う。あのトイレの窓くぐり抜けるには私がおじさんのお尻を押さないと無理だよ。
またナイちゃん氏にお尻触ってもらえるとか胸熱。 我々の業界ではご褒美です。
Maybe she doesn't agree.
何のために出かけるの？
ナエちゃん氏、これだけは覚えておいてほしいんだけど、男にはロマンのために命を懸けなきゃならない時があるんだ。
Oh no.
これは女子には絶対理解できない男の差がなわけで。
Don't think so, man. Putting one's life on the line? His joking attitude has all but disappeared, too. Daru looks straight at me with a glint in his eyes. I don't think those are lying eyes. After I pushed Daru's big butt through the bathroom window. Dang it! Dang it! We exit onto the sidewalk from the rear building and head to the station together. After walking for a while, I'm startled to see a man walking toward us from the front. I hurriedly grab Daru by the hand and take cover in the shadow of the staircase past by a nearby ramen shop.
じゃあ、ナエちゃん氏、こんな暗がりに連れ込んで僕に乱暴する気でしょ。エロ同人みたいに。エロ同人みたいに。
Shut your face.
やめなくて OK だお。
I forcibly covered Daru's mouth with my hand.
前から黒服が歩いてきた。
マジ？
I nod. I saw the agent when I came here after school too. He was in a car parked in front of Dad's building then. So why was he walking through here? I can't believe we'd end up running into each other. I watch as the agent passes by the ramen shop and stops in front of the building we've been using to enter and exit. He sits on the sidewalk railing and starts fiddling with his cell phone. He could spot us right away from there if we exit onto the sidewalk. And what's worse, he might attempt to check the building. If he goes up to the hallway of the second floor, he'd see the extension cord we plugged into the power lab. He would definitely figure out Daru's been there. I need to shift his attention.
どう？
Uncle Daru speaks up from behind me.
私が注意を引きつけるから、その間に駅へ向かって。
オキドキ。
Fetch, man. Don't get caught. And this better not be for Kamima. If it is for Kamima, I am... Okie dokie. I remember someone using that strange expression before. Yeah.
Okie dokie.
So cute. Suzuha, the part-timer. I only knew her for a short time. I wonder what she's doing now. In the end, I never actually got to ride her bike. With that on my mind, I walked down to the sidewalk looking nonchalant. Right then, I see the agent put away his cell phone and stand up to enter the building. No! I reflexively speak to him. The agent seems startled and looks in my direction. My heart's pounding. I feel like it's going to come flying out of my mouth, but I have to do something. I muster my courage and walk toward the agent.
なんだお前は。
What should I do if he captures me? What if he stabs me? My knees shake.
前にもこの近くにいましたよね。
あ？
私、あなたのことこの裏の道にある大檜山ビルの前で見かけました。1ヶ月ぐらい前だったと思います。
Right.
人違いだろう。
私、大檜山ビルのオーナーなんですけど、どうしてこの辺をうろうろしてるんですか？
Ooh. The agent goes quiet. See, he might be told not to interfere. He also might know that she must be the daughter of FB. Our conversation freezes up. I need to keep it going. I need him to stay focused on me.
あなたはお父さんの知り合いですか？
I check on the ramen shop out of the corner of my eye. There I see Daru hurrying out the sidewalk.
お父さんに手を合わせに来てくれたとか。だったら お墓の方にお願いします。仏壇は今は私のところにはなくて、
Right.
処分したわけじゃないんです。そんなのできるわけないです。お母さんだって入っているんだし、お父さんは宗教のこととかあんまり気にしなかったけど、やっぱりお母さんと一緒のところに入っていてほしいし。
Hmm.
ただ私は今居候の身だから、それで。
知らん。
The agent suddenly brushes me aside and tries to walk away. No! If he goes that way, he'll find Daru. My mind went blank. Without realizing it, I was standing in the agent's way.
もしお父さんと関係ないなら、もう来ないでください。この辺りをうろうろされると私迷惑です。お願いします。
このガキか。
Then the agent's cell phone rings.
はい。はい。はい。了解。
The agent gives the person calling him some vague responses and he clicks his tongue at me and walks off the opposite direction. He shouldn't bump into Daru if he goes that way. Did we manage to get off scot-free? I don't see Uncle Daru anywhere. After looking around, I weakly crouch down and curl up on the spot. My heart's still racing. I take a few deep breaths. Anyway, I need to contact Daru. We had decided beforehand that if we got split up, we would make contact by phone and find a way to meet up. I tried calling the number that Daru gave me before we left the lab. There's a long silence. Normally, you'd hear the ringtone. I tilt my head in puzzlement, then.
おかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。
It's probably dead.
番号をお確かめになっておかけ直しください。
I almost stopped breathing.
あれ
I tried calling a few more times, but every time I get the currently not in use message.
おかしいな。
I did type in the wrong number when I pulled him into my... Did I type in the wrong number when I put him into my phone? Oh, I can't believe I'd make a mistake like this. I hate myself. What should I do? I gave Daru my phone number so he might call me eventually. But just in case, I should just wait for him at the lab? As I think, I reflexively stand up with a start. I look around. There are lots of passing cars and a good number of pedestrians. They all pass me by without so much as a glance. What should I do if Daru doesn't come back? Daru tried to start packing up the moment he learned about the 42-inch TV didn't work. I stopped him, saying I could repair it. But what if he doesn't believe me? What if he just vanishes? I have no way to contacting him. I can't do anything about it. All I can do is wait. Wait all alone for someone who will never return.
そんなの嫌だよ。見えてる風景が死んでいくの。
Oh.
色が白黒になっていくの。
Unable to stand it, I desperately hold onto my own body. I'm so anxious it's crushing me. Am I going to be left alone again? Something happened and happening and ending without me even knowing. Only learning about it later. It's lonely, it's sad, and painful. Of course there's no guarantee that Daru would never come back.
探さなきゃ。
He couldn't have gone far yet. I'm sure I'll find him right away. It's evening now, so there are more people walking on the streets. Daru stands out though. I'd notice if I saw him walking around. I tried looking inside the parts shop where he hid before, but I didn't see him around, and the employee said they hadn't seen him either. Besides Rumio, there's only one other lab mem from 2 years ago left in this town. Luca. Her house is at... Oh yeah, that's right, it is her here. Her house is at the Yanabayashi shrine across from Manseibashi. I figured Daru might have gone to visit his old fellow lab mem and dropped by. But Luca was away for college, and her family said that nobody like Daru had visited them. It's getting dark. I can't find him. I can't do anything. It's impossible to find a single person in a town this big without any clues. And given that I couldn't find him after all this searching, Daru's probably already left Akihabara. In the end, not sure where to go, I came back here. I thought Daru might have come back. It was just a tiny flicker of hope. But after sneaking through the bathroom to get in, I didn't see him anywhere. Luca and I missed each other. Sounds like you visited the shrine earlier. I'm sorry. I just got back. Do you need something from me? Please call. Can I call? No. I opened the door to the shower room just in case, but nobody was inside. I sit down on the sofa and fidget, and fatigue suddenly washes over me. I can only wait. I'm sure Daru will come back. I just have to believe and wait. To be honest, I should have headed home by now, but I wouldn't want to miss Daru by doing that. My body's completely exhausted after running around everywhere, but I managed to stand up and head downstairs. However, my crushing anxiety makes it so I can't focus on my work. Fetch, man.
なえ、今どこにいるんや？こんな遅い時間まで出歩いてたらダメにゃ。ロミホお姉ちゃん。確かにこの前はもっと遊ぶべきだって言ったけど、それにしてもハメを外しすぎにゃ。中学生なんだから何時に帰ればいいかはちゃんと自分で判断しなきゃダメだにゃ。
Right.
それよりお姉ちゃん、ダルおじさんから連絡あった？いや、ダルニャン？そういえばこの前もナエはダルニャンのことを聞いてきたね。どうしてそんなに気になるにゃ？まさかダルニャンと一緒にいるのにゃ？
He's not here. He won't come back.
とにかく今日はもう帰ってくるにゃ。パパもママも心配してるし。わかった。ごめんなさい。
I can't do anything. As a child, no matter how important my business may be, staying out late at night will get me a scolding. It's not like I'm staying out late just to stay out late. It's just really frustrating that I can't even search for someone by myself. There aren't many people left in Akihabara. All the shops are closing up. Once all the shutters close, the sidewalk gets dark. Even as I walk back, I'm still looking for signs of Daru. I look at the faces of every man who passes by. But he's not here. Not anywhere. He's gone. Then when I was below UPX... Oh! Akihabara was all but deserted. At the table of an open cafe with no other customers, I see a large frame sitting there. The silhouette alone was enough. There's no mistaking that sight. Ooh, we finally find him, huh? But I think that's where we're going to end for today. But I want to close on a little bit of thoughts real quick. Her attitude is actually really reminiscent of something I go through. I don't really quite have like a diagnosed depression or anything, but I do have a bit of a depression. Like this is something I went to a psychologist just kind of like as a checkup and make sure everything in the noggin was okay, and we analyzed and talked about a lot of things that happened in my past and the way I handled and processed stress. And specifically we talked about times when I got really down and unmotivated about stuff, because you know that sends up some potential flags. And it seems that a lot of times I can go through bouts of depression, like genuine depression. They're not persistent, but they tend to be coinciding with events, specifically two kinds. Number one, when dramatic changes take place without my ability to control them, and B, when things fall apart my plans and things I look forward to just crumble to ashes in my hands. I find them to be very, very anxiety-inducing and make me want to just shut down emotionally. And it's something I wrestle with. It probably happens like once a month or so, and I'll go through like a couple days where I'm just really, really just down. And honestly, the way they're describing Nae's attitude here is almost exactly the way that the thoughts start to circle in my mind in those instances, where it's just like, you kind of, when you get the time to think to yourself, your thoughts kind of run in these circles of like, nothing matters, nothing you do matters, like it's all gonna fall apart anyway. There's no, like, you're just gonna be alone, no one can understand, nobody gets it. And in a lot of sense, maybe that is true, and that's part of why it has such a good hold on me. I don't know if anybody can or ever will truly understand how I think and feel, and that's kind of what I think all of us go through, one phase or another. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about that too much. Most of the time, like 90% of the time, I'm perfectly happy, and I can work through almost anything that happens. But there are dark moments. There are days where what Nae is thinking is exactly how I think. Of course, she has it tied to an actual trauma. I don't think I so much have it tied to trauma. I just have an idiosyncrasy in my brain. Part of me is always assuming the worst and planning for it. Part of me is also always optimistic and planning for the best. It's actually kind of funny because that's exactly what the Patreon's all about. Do I actually expect that to pay for my livelihood someday? No. But I want to hope that it can, and I want it to be in place and prepared and practiced so that maybe someday I can. But there's also a massive part of me that understands that that's probably not going to happen. And that's okay. But sometimes those dark feelings take over and they can take a hold on your heart. And I guess it's just important to know and say that, I drew a lot of strength, even going to the psychologist a little bit, and being able to start giving, framework for those moments of darkness that I faced, even if they were infrequent. And I think it's good to be aware that feeling like that is kind of normal. But it doesn't mean that you should just deal with it without getting help. And that help doesn't have to be professional, but that's a great place to go if you have the option. A lot of times you can get 1 or 2 sessions without having to pay for it either. It just depends on insurance and the rules in your country or whatever. But even if that's not an option for you or something you're not willing to try, seeking out people who you know genuinely care or have interest on you, maybe a parent, close family member, or friend. Somebody whom you know is not going to be conditional or flippant. Somebody who is genuine and cares and loves you. Because they're there. It might feel like they're not sometimes for some of you, but they're there. It might just take a little flexible thinking and understanding that sometimes love manifests in ways that can seem frustrating or confrontational. Not abusive. There's a big difference there. But for instance, my dad, who has always been there, sometimes comes off a bit aggressive and fixy. I mean, I can't help it. He's an engineer. I think his whole mindset is geared around the idea of taking problems and fixing them, which can mean it can be very difficult to hold a conversation of heartfelt feelings with him. But the thing is that despite the fact that he can sometimes be the least compassionate, he's also one of the people who's there for me no matter what. And regardless of whether or not I get fixed or listen to what he says, he's always going to be there for me, and he's established that well into life, though I didn't realize it till later. So I hope that if you ever find yourself stumbling through those dark and anxious tunnels that life tends to throw in our way, and especially if you find yourself walking through it more than very infrequently, if it's as occasional as mine, which is, like I said, is maybe once, 1 or 2 days a month, it's enough that it might be good for you to at least get some definition about it. And it's something I hope to continue going back to, psychology. I've been taking a break with the pandemic, but I do want to go back again, and I think it's healthy. So make sure to take check of your mental health. And if people are saying that you should try and talk to a psychologist, maybe initially you might get upset about that, but if you think about it, I really don't know if that can actually hurt you, but only maybe help you. Because again, sometimes just all you need is to give a definition to that framework. Anyway, it's a long rant, but it's an important message to send because I was really vibing with Nae right there. But I didn't want to interrupt her thoughts because I really wanted to see it through. And yeah, so next week we're going to see what happens with Daru. We're going to see kind of maybe where the heck he was. If he has a bunch of comic books from Kamima, I'm going to punch him myself. But now that Ferris is involved in all of this, because there's no way she's not going to be now, somehow I think. We'll have to see where this all takes us. But I get the feeling we're getting close to the end because it feels like this was like a mid-roll like crisis. And I think the next part is going to be us finally finishing the task and getting it done and sending that email, possibly in like while under fire from agents or something. But we'll have to see. So again, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. As always, it's a pleasure having you here. It's a pleasure being able to share this with you. I'm excited for this series to be finished. Not because I want it to be over, but I'm excited to see kind of where it's going to take us. And we're going to finally finish the Steinsgate section and move forward with whatever happens next. Again, Patreon, if you want to be more involved in kind of having a bird's eye view of what's coming in the channel, having a voice and a direct vote and being able to share your opinion directly with me about where the direction you hope to see the channel go into. Listen to me give some Q&A answers while I'm just blabbering to myself while I do some projects, and ultimately just wanting to support the channel. Feel free to check out the link in the description below for the Patreon. Regardless of whether or not you do that, please check out the Discord. It's a great place to kind of get some good updates about the channel, chat with some of the other people who we converse with in the comments, and ultimately share your passion and love for these fantastic stories. But ultimately, just you being here is the most important thing. So thank you. And until next video watching me, I hope to see me in next. I'll see you there.